Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we are making this pretty paper wreath. It's sort of a cone wreath, but not exactly, as these pieces that are cones don't actually roll into cone shape. They're flat on the back. Now I'm going to be giving you templates for two sizes. The one you see here is made with a 5.5 by 5.5 inch square. The reason for that is if you don't have 12 by 12 paper, I wanted you to be able to make this out of 8.5 by 11 inch paper, so you can. The one we're going to make together today, I'm going to use 6 by 6 squares. The process is the same. You just need a different template in the middle. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But this wreath, I just love how it turned out. I used paper and I used stickers. You see each one of these has a little sticker. Love it. All right, let's get started. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is make yourself a template. This is a piece of Not Your Mama's cardstock. It's super thick and I love this for templates. That's actually going to be a top tip coming up really soon. You need to cut yourself a piece the size you're going to be doing. Mine are going to be 6 by 6 petals. So that's what this one is, 6 by 6. If you're making the 5.5 by 5.5, just make this 5.5 by 5.5 to start. Then you're going to make some marks, okay? You're going to go into the bottom right-hand corner and you're going to make a mark that is 1 inch up from the bottom. I'm using my cutting mat to help me, by the way. And 1 inch up on the side. So this is what we're marking. Let me zoom you in. So you can see here, I made a mark at 1 inch up here and 1 inch in. Then what we want to do is in the opposite corner, let me bring this down just a little bit. In the opposite corner, we want to make a mark 3 inches in. Okay, so here's my 3 inch mark. So I'll make a mark there. And then on this side, I want to make a mark 3 inches down right here. So what we've got is 3 inches and 3 inches, 1 inch and 1 inch. All right, then we're going to go to our trimmer. This is going to be our template that makes this job so easy. You will be amazed how easy this project is. All right, so using our template, we're going to take one of our 3 inch marks and one of our 1 inch marks and put them onto our cutting line of our trimmer. And we're just going to slice that off. You won't need this. You can use it for scrap, whatever else you want to do with it. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. What we're doing is we're making the shape of the base of the wreath. The reason for this is we want to be able to make our fold super fast. If we had to measure every single square we do, it would take forever. So this is my template for my 6 by 6 paper. Again, do the same thing with the 5.5, just start with a 5.5 inch piece. All right, let me show you what's next. So the paper pack I'll be using today for this wreath is called My Favorite Fall. If you like this wreath and you want to know the paper pack for it, this one is called Fall Market. Okay, we'll have all of that linked in the blog post that's in the description for you. So here's what you need to do with your paper packs. If you're using 12 by 12 paper, you need to run through and find the pages that don't have the cut aparts. So these cut apart sheets we're not going to use. I'm just going to put those aside. These pattern pieces are the ones I want to use. So I'm going to be moving these on out of here. Move these guys out of the way. The stickers we're going to use to decorate each one of the little points in just a little bit, and maybe even other spots of the wreath. So if you're making this wreath, you're going to need 13 sheets of cardstock, okay? And double-sided to me works best because you want those two patterns. So I'm going to need to go through and pick out what I want to use. Now I can get 4 petals from this one sheet, but I might want to mix my patterns up a little more than that and maybe just get 2 petals from each sheet. So that way I have a little more like play in my wreath. So I know I want to use this one, so that's 2, that's 4, that's 6, that's 8, that's 10. That gets me 12, and if I cut me one out of here, that will get me 13. And this piece can just be one I don't use. Now, you can totally make this wreath from a 6 by 6 paper pack as well. You do not have to cut down 12 by 12s, but I don't mind. I find ways to use my paper pack, so this is not, well, I also find ways to hide paper and find it. But I find ways to use my paper pack, so I'm not stressed about having some of it left over. So I'm just going to go through here and make myself some 6 by 6 squares. Remember, there are brag book tutorials that I have for you guys, and 6 by 6 is the perfect size for that. So even though I'm taking half of this sheet to use for my wreath, the other half that I have left is perfect to make some fall brag books or journals or even to use for mini albums. All right, so I'm going to cut 13 6 by 6 squares. Now that I have my 13 squares cut, it's time to use my template. And here's what I will do. I will line up the bottom right corner right like this with my 6 by 6 paper, and I want to line up the top corner the same way. So just line that up. Now beside my paper, I'm going to trace here and then also here. I'm tracing that angled line. Now the reason I like to use the thick cardstock for this is it's easy to trace. My pencil doesn't wiggle the page. I wouldn't use copy paper as your template. You'll struggle with that. Don't worry about the fact that there are pencil marks showing. They won't in the finished project. Now I can point them out to you on the one I showed you earlier and you will see them. If I do this, you'll see my pencil mark right there. But unless you hunt for it, you really can't see it. Okay, you probably didn't notice it before, but now that I've shown you. So I'm gonna leave my pencil marks there and not worry about it. So I'm just gonna run through and each one of these is gonna get a pencil mark. So I do wanna caution you about this. So this side, by doing my pencil mark here, means that this is gonna be what shows on the front. Okay, so when I do my next page, I wanna make sure that, the one that's the same pattern, I wanna make sure I draw my template on this side of this one so that none of them are exactly the same. So basically, I showcase different sides of the paper each time. I'll show you what I mean. So by doing my tracing here, I'm gonna turn this up on this one. So this one will have plaid in the cone, and this one will have the foliage in the cone. All right, so you do want to pay attention to that. So those are ready, and what I do is just kind of go through and grab my pages that match. So these two pages match, and I'm going to flip one over. So that way I will trace this one and know that it's right. Then I'll trace this one and know that it's right. Not the end of the world if two are the same, but I know a lot of you guys don't like for that to happen, so I wanted to caution you on that. All right, so these guys are ready. Another thing to think about with your 6x6 paper pack, you can get more than one of these wreaths from it. So while you're making one for yourself, just go ahead and make one for a friend, because once they see it, they're going to want it. They're too cute. Now what we're going to do is we're going to score these pencil lines. This is one reason I have this marker line on my scoreboard, is so I can easily see that I'm on the same line at the top and the bottom for scoring. So I'm just going to score right down that pencil line. And this is just really to make my turn or my bend a little easier on me. It's not really, you don't really have to do it. You could just lay a ruler down beside your pencil line and pick the page up. I just find that this kind of makes it go neater and cleaner, and even makes the assembly a little bit cleaner. I should tell you why I'm doing this. So I saw this on Pinterest, and this is usually done with fabric. This is a quilter's wreath or candle ring. That's where this comes from, right? So I saw it and I thought, you know what, we can totally do that with paper. So I started playing around with it last week, and the hardest part is the measurement and making sure that everything's gonna land like it should and things like that. The first one I made did not land like it should. I was like, this is terrible. I don't know how to fix this to make it easy for you guys to reproduce. So Shannon and I went to town. If you don't know Shannon, she's our social media director. Shannon and I went to town, and we figured out a way by using the templates, the free template that I'm going to give you in the description below or in the blog post. That free template is going to make life so easy when you go to assemble this. Without that template, you could get offline easily. You need to trust me on this, because I did. So templates in the description for you. And the templates that I'm giving you, it's one piece of paper, one printable, but you just need to decide if you're doing the 6x6, you need the larger of the templates, and if you're doing the 5.5 size, you need the smaller of the templates. And I'll explain it when we get there. But I just wanted you to know, it was so funny. Shannon and I were like, it's taken us 5 days to nail this project down. For this next part, I'm using a stapler. You can use glue, but you'll have to wait for it to dry. Even with art glitter glue, you'll have to hold it to dry. And the way we're doing these cones, we're creating a little pressure. So it really helps if you use the stapler instead. Also, if you're going to go purchase a stapler, like if you don't have one at home already, I want to caution you about one thing. Try to get one that doesn't have much of a nose on it. You see how this is pretty close to the staple? I'll show you why. Here's how I do this. So we folded up those sides that we scored. I'm going to bring this together with my finger underneath, and just where I can hold it, okay, with my finger in there, I'm going to staple that. And having a stapler that doesn't have much of a nose on it like that really lets me get in there real easy. I tried doing this with one of the other staplers we have in the shop, and I had to pull it over further, which really won't hurt anything. It'll just be a tighter kind of half cone, whatever you want to call this that we're making. There's probably a name for this, and I bet you quilters can tell me in the comments what this is. Now, notice that I am not creasing the score line. There's no reason to crease it. We're trying to get it to stand up. So instead of using my bone folder to crease it, I'm just overlapping this just as much as it will overlap and then stapling it shut. Okay, so I'm going to do that 13 times with all of these little cones. And this is why pre-planning the patterns makes life easy. By deciding, you know, which side is the front, which side is the back, makes life easy. So just put your finger in there, cross it over, and staple it down. Now what you need to do for this next part is get yourself a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. If you're making the 6 by 6 square petals, if you're making the 5.5 by 5.5, you need an 11 by 11 inch piece of cardstock. This is what's going to give your paper wreath some stability. So you want to have this to glue everything to. Then you'll need your templates. Now, if you're making the 6 by 6, you need this template. It is the larger of the two. And this circle, in case you can't print the template, is 4 1/4 of an inch. I almost said 3, but that's not right. We tried a bunch. It's 4 1/4 of an inch. That's the size of this circle. This is a 2-inch circle. So this one you could actually do if you had just a 2-inch punch and you wouldn't even have to have the template. But the template's going to come in handy, okay? Well, let me show you what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not even going to stress about cutting out the circle itself. All I want to do is cut this template apart and keep for myself these little guidelines that kind of hang out the side. So see, I'm just putting this in my trimmer and trimming it so I can get those little like crosshairs. That's what I'm going to need in just a few minutes to make this work. Now you'll notice that I'm not going to, I didn't print this on like special pattern paper or anything. I printed it on white. It's going to be perfectly fine on white. We're going to cover the center of the wreath anyway. This is just really our guideline. The next thing we need to do is find the center of our chipboard. This is easy enough. You're just going to take your ruler. You're going to mark down one side at 6 inches, which is here. Mark down the other side at 6 inches. This is the worst part. Everything else is super easy. These are some measurements you do have to do. Then I'm going to draw that line together. So 6 inches over there plus 6 inches over here. Just going to draw that and get that marking. Okay, you might not, yeah, you can see that on screen, good. All right, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So mark it in the middle at 6. Remember, if you're doing the 11 by 11 inch, then you're just mark it at 5.5. Now, I don't think you have to use a full sheet of chipboard like this, but I like the stability that it gives my wreath. The wreath is paper after all, so I kind of like the stability that I get. I lost my mark, I could not see it. There it is. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, now all that is gonna do is help us line up our little paper template. So what we want to do is we want to put it onto those lines. So you see how we have those little cross hatches? Mandy's good at giving those little cross hatches so we can line things up. She made these templates for us. So you're going to line your little cross hatches up and glue this down. So I'm going to line up 2, and the rest should work just when I place it down. Okay. Now this is me being specific. This is me wanting this to be this shape and these wanting to line up this way. If you don't really care where your circle is, just get it in the middle. It won't be the end of the world. This will still hide behind your wreath. Now for some tips and tricks. If you're like Shannon, you're going to want to lay this out before you glue it down and see what it looks like. I don't typically do that, but that's what she does, and I want to show you that. So you're going to start at any one of these lines. Doesn't matter which one, but what you're going to do is you're going to lay one of your little guys out on one side of the line. See where that line is there? So I'm going to lay this guy out like this, and I want the point of my paper to touch that circle. See that? It's like a puzzle. It's really relaxing and fun, I promise. Then I'm going to take my second one, and I want to put it right here, right next to it. But I want to make sure that the point touches the circle. Again, don't worry about this. We're going to cover this inside with something, so don't worry about that. We'll make the white go away, okay? Same thing here. You want to keep going. You got to start on that one line, whichever line you want to. These all match too much. See, that's why Shannon does this, so she can make sure they're not too matchy-matchy. You just have to start on one of those lines, and then you just keep going all the way around. And this is where you can lay your paper out in such a way that none of your patterns get duplicated. So every time you lay this out, you're lining your angle lines up, okay? And you're putting the tip at the circle. Don't glue it down first. Go ahead and place everything down and make sure you have enough and make sure you've got everything kind of spaced correctly. Then you can glue it down. It's also a good way to make sure you like your layout. Now it just fits. It's pretty snug. The big thing is to make sure all your points are where they're supposed to be. Now when you start to glue this down, do not panic if it shifts a little bit. Nothing behind here is going to show. By the time we're done, we're going to put something inside here and hide all of that center anyway, so none of that's going to show. If you think you might not put something all the way out here, let me show you what I mean by that. See how mine covers up? Like you don't see it because I went all the way to where the little point is. But let's say your centerpiece might be smaller, then you do want to cut your circle out and not leave all of the paper I left there. But you can cover it. It's not a big deal. So now we're ready to glue them down. I'm going to pick one up and I'm going to put glue on the tip first, okay? And then I'm going to put it here. That way I don't put glue where I don't need it, if that makes sense. I'm not putting it on the edge of the paper and getting it where I don't need it. Then just put this guy in. Point to the circle there, just like we talked about before. Make sure the point gets where it goes and then just press that down. Now you're just going to run around and glue all of them down the same way. So glue on the point and then glue on the page. Now we're to the last one, and there is a chance that this one will be tight, okay? If it is, do not panic. Just place it in, let it fill in the gap, and when you're through, no one will ever notice that it's a little overlapped or a little too tight. And that one might not have been too tight, except I got these a little gap from each other. Again, it won't matter. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to spin it really slow so you don't get dizzy. But this is each petal all glued down on the front. Isn't that cool? Now I'm going to flip it over and show you the back. See how clean that is with our piece of chipboard back there? And it's super sturdy. All right? So now we can work on the middle, which is the fun part anyway. Now for this wreath, I've decided not to do a circle on the inside, but you can. If you're doing the 6x6 wreath, you need a 6-inch circle to cover this area, okay? But I've decided to use a square. What you want to do at this point is you want to find what points you want to be the top of your wreath. I like the way these laid out, so this is going to be the top of my wreath. So this is what I'm going to place here in the middle. I wanted to do it a little different in the video, just to give you guys an idea of how to do things, not exactly, you know, the way I showed you earlier. You can kind of mix it up. So I just have to lay this square so that it's right with that being the top of my wreath, and here's my square. But I want to decorate on top of the square first. So let me do that. And just as a reminder, this is the circular way. You can put a circle in there, no issue. I just wanted to try to do something a little different in the video. Now for me, this is a great place to use our cut-aparts, and this one in the middle that says Autumn Blessings is going to be perfect. Now I want to mat this piece as well, so I'm going to put it onto a piece of cardstock and then use my perfect layers to mat it out. Let me see what size I want to use. I think I want it to be pretty wide, so let me just see here. So this is my little square piece for the center. I went ahead and cut a solid piece and also the Autumn Blessings. But I don't want to put them on just squares stacked up like this. So I'm going to take my corner rounder punch and I'm going to round all the edges with the 1/2-inch corner. Because I have plenty of space for dimension, I'm going to use foam tape to mount all of these pieces together. I'm not going to worry about the base just yet. I'm going to put my foam on the back of these pieces first and stack them up. I think I'm going to need much thicker foam on this piece to put it in the middle. So I'm going to do it last and kind of decide how much I need there. So I'm just going to put some tape here. Now, we talked about this before. This is a home decor piece, okay? So in my opinion, this is going to need more foam than you would put on like a card you're sending to someone, etc. Because you want to make sure that this piece is going to stay together so you can use it for at least a few years, right? And if you put it up and store it well, you should be able to. And I see this as an indoor piece, okay? So this is something to be so cute in your kitchen, maybe hanging on the outside door of a bathroom. Don't hang this on the inside door of a bathroom because the steam will do it in. But you could hang this in your kitchen. Be cute on a pantry door in the kitchen. Wouldn't that be cute? My mother-in-law does that. She has a door to her garage from her kitchen, and she puts a wreath on that door, and I think it's really cute. This would be a cute style to put in there. Imagine this too. I was thinking as I was working on this, like all the places I could use this. So you know how you make those wreaths whenever babies are born to put on their hospital door? How cute would this be to go into your stash, use up some pink or blue or both paper, right? Maybe it's even for a gender reveal, who knows, and make a little wreath for their hospital room door. And this would weigh nothing. These so easy to make to put on the door. And the other place I thought would be really cool for all of my cruising friends, this is a great one to make for your cruise door because it weighs nothing and you can totally magnet this to your door, no problem. Now see how I'm adding a little glue to the foam? That is because I want it to last. So I just want to make sure I give it that little extra bit of help there. And then I'm going to stick that down. That looks good. I like the dimension on that. And then this one can go straight here. This would be so cute done with a cruise paper pack. And maybe you even get like some little cruise pieces that you could put in the middle of it, like maybe some little plastic boats or who knows, starfish or shells would be cute on it. It's perfect for that. So if we ever cruise again, you'll probably see me do one of these for my door simply because it would be super easy and weigh nothing. So that is the piece for the middle for me. Not done. I'm going to add a bow to it as well. Now I need this to pop up in the middle of this wreath pretty high. You'll see why when I lay it there in just a second. So I'm not willing to use that much foam tape, but what I am willing to do is dig into my stash of chipboard and get out some and cut it down. I'm going to cut mine to 4 by 4 inch pieces. That way I know that it will hide behind my square. And I think I'm going to stack it up 3 or 4 chipboards high to give me a nice thick piece to glue down. Okay. So I've got for myself 5 pieces of chipboard. That's what I decided to use. And I'm just going to glue this into the center just to be a riser. You could do this with cardboard, anything you've got laying around. I just want to raise this up a little bit in the middle, just making sure I'm staying at the top of there. I'm keeping my focus. Notice that my pieces are not all cut. Ooh, notice that I'm dropping them. Notice that they're not all cut exactly the same. See how that bottom one is cut one size and this one's a little smaller? None of that matters because you're not going to see it. I just want to stack them up for height. So that's 3. Now 2 more. Now that I've got my riser in there, I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see it. See how it's thick? It's real thick. About ½ inch thick actually. I'm going to take my piece and now I can glue it straight down. And if I needed a little more height, I could even put a little more foam tape on it and attach it with foam tape. I don't think I'm going to worry about that. I think I'm just going to put my glue here. And if it bends in a little bit, if it nestles in, that's not going to bother me. I do want to place it and then lift the wreath to check it. Yep, that feels good. And see how these are kind of turning up? That doesn't bother me. You may not can see it, but it's kind of leaning on the paper and lifting up a little bit. No big deal for me. Now for what I think is the fun part. Okay, see how our staples are showing? This is where you get to decide what to cover your staples with. You could use bling. You could use bows. You could use all kinds of stuff. But for me, sticker time. And this is what's so fun to me. I want to show you. Keeping the top of my wreath, you know, keeping myself in perspective, I want to show you what I did with my other one. So like this little sticker right here, it says, I'm so grateful for you. I'm just going to put it right there. I'm not really sticking it down into place. I'm just placing it there. And then I just keep going and pull stickers off and just place them. I'm going to keep them facing the right direction. Let me show you what I mean by that. You can totally change this any way you want to, but I want them to kind of stay upright, if that makes sense. I want them to be easily read. So see how I'm kind of keeping these upright like with the center. I'm not following the curve, so I won't turn them as they go. They'll all stay upright like this. This will make more sense as I go. That's really hard to describe. Let me move this here. We'll work on these side pieces here. Now on the side, I like to add the bigger stickers, like right here. I think that's a super cute one. So see how I'm keeping it in line with the middle. So when I'm looking at this, I'll be looking directly at the pumpkins. That's how I like to do it. And every size sticker works. Too many pumpkins, too close together. Let's do a different one. Let's do this little apple. That little apple is perfect for right there. The other thing I think is cool is kind of matching your sticker to the paper. See how that matches so cool? That's another fun thing to do. Now you may not want to use your stickers like this. That's perfectly fine. You use whatever makes you happy, but I love the stickers and I think this is a cool way to kind of show them all off, to hide our staples. So as you can see at the top, I have a sticker at every one. And if I scroll up here for you to see it, or if I move it up, you can see I have a sticker at every one at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do, and this will be hard for you to see, but I'll just film as I go. I'm going to take my foam and I'm going to cut a foam square for behind each one of these guys. That will help it to lay a little flatter, and then I'll glue them into place. So let's do one as an example, and then I'll just film my process after that. So this is a sticker, and listen, I don't even worry about the stickiness. I'm not going to powder them or anything. It will not matter. As they hang on the wall, you guys know how this works. Dust and things like that are going to collect on the back anyway. And this is actually what I'm going to adhere it with. That's the foam, the dimensional foam. That's what it's actually going to get stuck down with. So up in this corner, I've got my sticker with my foam. I'm going to add a little dot of glue to the middle and then stick this down to hide my staple. Now I personally think little bows would be adorable here as well. You don't have to use the stickers. You could probably come up with all kinds of things. You could do bling, you could do all kinds of stuff. So now I'm just going to run around and foam lift them all up. So look how cute this is. I'm even going to try to tilt it so you can see the whole thing in the camera. I think it is adorable. And you know what I was thinking? I wish I'd thought about this sooner, but this is a perfect place to use your buttons. If you have antique buttons, I could have gone through Brenda's stash and pulled out 13 buttons, but I've done stickers. I like the stickers too, but wouldn't it be cute to have little buttons on every one of these? Oh, so cute. Okay, now I want to put a bow right here, so let's make a bow. So the ribbon I'm going to use is this burlappy ribbon that has a little bit of gold wire on the edge. We have a handful of these in the store, and I mean very few of these. I bought these for a project and had some left, and they are in the store if you'd like to pick them up. So I'm going to make a bow. So I'm going to start with a loop, just like this, and then I'm just going to see how many loops I can get. I have a little bit of this room left, so I'm using up what I've got because I put all of the other spools into the store for you guys. That's perfect. I'm going to have to tie it in the middle with something other than this ribbon, but that won't be a big deal. So I'm just going to tie the middle with this cream colored ribbon. All these colors are in the wreath project itself. So I'll just tie this nice and snug in the middle. And this is also a really good place for you to use like your bow dabber to make this. If you're not comfortable doing these kind of, I call them air bows, how I just kind of made this one in the air. If you're not comfortable with that, use your bow dabber. So this is the little bow I made. I'm just going to glue it right here at the bottom. I am using hot glue for this. I think this will be a better option to hold this little guy on. And you recognize these little brads? These are what come in those ephemera packs with these paper kits. I don't know if this one came with this one. I feel like it did because it looks pretty familiar. But I just took it off to the side with my snips where it wouldn't get in my eye, and I cut the little backer pieces off. And I'm going to treat it like a button. I'm going to glue my bow center down with this little, or glue this little button to the center of my bow. I'm going to hold that and let it cool. I also have this little banner that says fall is in the air. I think it'll be cute to kind of place it here. That's just a sticker, so that can go just like that. And of course, you could just keep going. You could deck this out all you want to, but I'm going to stop here. Now, Shannon and I, mostly Shannon, have made a sunflower version of this. I'm going to bring you a separate video for that one because I want to show you how to make the center for the sunflower, so that'll be different. But so watch for that one to come out on Tuesday. For this week, this is the one you got. Now this one is the 6x6 like we talked about. And now I'll show you with the 5.5 by 5.5, you can see the difference in size. Not tremendous difference, just a slight difference. But if you don't have 12 by 12 paper or 6x6 at your ready, you can use your 8.5 by 11 and get the same process. Now you're probably going to wonder how to hang this guy up. Let me show you what I did. It's not pretty, but it works. I just took a piece of ribbon and hot glued it here at the top so I could hang it because it's not heavy. Now this we did before we discovered that the square chipboard on the back works better. So don't do your chipboard like this. Do what I did with the square. It's much sturdier. Even though this is holding it all together and everything, you need that bigger piece like I showed you in the tutorial. But I just wanted to show you what we did. We just took a piece of ribbon and glued it at the top, and that's what we hung it up with. All right, guys, the PDF will be in the description below. The blog post will be there for you. You can click on that and it'll take you right to get all the products that I use, all the dimensions, all that good stuff where you'll be there. And that is it. I love how this wreath turned out. Hopefully Jordan can put some pictures in here where you can see it hanging on the wall because it's really cool hanging up. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I cannot wait to see what you make doing this. So head to our customer gallery at maymaymadeit.com and share with us your paper wreath projects. I cannot wait to see them. It's the time of year for this sort of thing, and I know you will rock this one out of the park. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.